Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Monday. It's February 10th. This will be our chart lesson for the day. And yes, I'm back, and yes, this is very late. I'm getting it uploaded late. Of course, I've had a million issues on top of all the things that you normally. There's been some small website issues. If you tried to purchase any of our manuals or anything or second entry indicator, you've probably noticed there's problems. If you happen to be listening to this and you were trying to purchase something, after clicking the purchase button, it should take you to the checkout, but for some reason it's not. But if you just reload the page and look at that button again, you'll see checkout. Click on it and it will finally take you to checkout, but most people probably give up by that point. But if you're trying to buy the second entry indicator, any of the manuals, give that a shot. Again, just go ahead and click on it and the button will go blank most likely, and then reload that page. Just hit the refresh of that page and it'll reload it, and you'll see checkout on that button. Then if you click it, then it will go to the checkout page. So that's our only option until I get it figured out, and I do have somebody working on it. Hopefully tomorrow we'll get that resolved, but otherwise I'm not sure. I've tried everything and have not been able to figure it out on my own, so I've got some help coming to help me figure it out. But anyway, it seems like I've been gone forever. Um, Man, what a great trip! I can't tell you. If you ever get the chance to go to Antarctica, if you like the outdoors and don't mind the cold, I highly recommend it. It's not quite the same as Alaska. I took an Alaska trip a couple of years ago, and uh, nothing grows in Antarctica. There's nothing but snow and ice there. Penguins, whales, sea lions, and seals, and things like that. Porpoises. There are a few birds and things, but otherwise, there's not much there. It's just the beauty of it and the amount of ice and uh, all the glaciers, and it's just it's really just an incredible place. Excuse me. Of course, being gone that long, being in the cold, I've got a little bit of a scratchy throat when I get back. So it seems to happen to me every time I go on a long trip like that. But you'll have to excuse me because it'll bug me as I start to talk a lot. So I'll probably have to pause it here and there and clear my throat. But anyway, great trip. I'm glad to be back. I'm not going to beat around the bush. Let's get started here on the chart lesson so I can get this uploaded, because it's 6:30 now and I'm just now doing it. So it's probably going to be this way for a couple of days. I'll try not to be so late getting this uploaded, but I just didn't have any option today. I've been tied up with a million things. Not only have my business stuff going on, I've got personal stuff. Usual personal issues. I mean, I've got bills to pay that I didn't pay while I was gone for 3 weeks, and people looking for me. My issues with my mother. They moved her while I was gone. Issues with her. You name it. I've got a list so long it's going to take me 2 weeks to catch up probably. But just bear with me. I'll do the best I can. I'll get this chart lesson up every day. We'll have our mid-morning report every morning. Can't promise you what time the chart lesson will be here, but it'll be here every day, Monday through Thursday as usual. So, but let's get started. You can see, it looks like we had a nice rally. I think I left on the 17th. So this was the day. It looks like we rallied after I left. But we backed off that and just kind of gone sideways since then. So it looks like we're trying to turn back up. I'm sure that's from this big rally here. That was a nice rally. I hate I missed it. But there were some nice rally days there. This looks like this was a really crazy day, so maybe not so glad I missed that crazy day. But it's just kind of been up and down since then. So anyway, you can see today was a very bullish day. We made a higher low. Very bullish bar. We'll see if we go higher. We're kind of stuck in a little range here. So we'll see what comes after this. But let's flip over to the 2000 tick chart and take a look at that. And we'll work through the trades, and I'll try to move through pretty quickly. There's not a lot of trades today, so I'll try to move through that quickly and get this uploaded for you. Okay, here it is. You can see we had a big spike in channel up spiked up and went to a two-tiered channel. And right here, we could not quite get back up, and we turned down, had a little move down, and had the break of our channel here. And then we rallied back up to a new high. We just did make a new high, and then from then on, it was just kind of downhill. This looks like this has moved a little bit. Should be more like this. But yes, we made that new high, and then we trended down the rest of the day. Really almost sideways, slightly down to sideways is the way I would describe that. But there's definitely a down channel there. So, but you can see it. Not a lot of trades in there, but there's a few, couple of good ones. What we had this early move up, and then a break and a couple of legs up to a new high. Actually, you had your couple of legs up, and then we started another trend up and had the break and moved to a new high, and then we were down, break, and we didn't quite make a new low. This trend line held, and so we continued to go higher until we had a break here, and then we went back and retested that high and made a new high before just kind of chopping into the close. So that's how I saw it anyway. But let's zoom in here. We'll go through the trades. You had to be patient this morning. 7 o'clock came in this flat spot here, so I don't think you want to go long there, and there just wasn't a chance to get long until we topped out here. Again, this was a separate channel in my opinion, and you had a break, couple of moves up to a new high, and then we were trending down. So at this point, you're trading this downtrend as soon as you get a confirmation on it. I would say you were safe to go short here. Notice you got a first entry, second entry. That's a failure there. I would like that better if it was on the other side of the trend of the EMA there, but you can still take that trade. I marked it green. And you can see it was a pretty nice move down, but it didn't set up perfectly, but I think it's good enough. And that led us to a move on down to the bottom, and we bounced right off the trend line. That's tempting to want to go long there. And if we'd have got a break above that bar, maybe you do, but when you don't even get a break above it, and it's obvious you got a tight congestion there, I'd just sit tight because it could continue to go lower, but we do get that break. And there's actually a second entry short there, but the signal bar is not good enough, and you still have this trend line to contend with, so I don't think you want to go short there yet. And this is kind of an odd setup here. This is definitely a second entry long. And the problem is this is your signal bar and this is an inside bar. But notice that everything's bouncing off that trend line. And then once again, it closed inside, bounced off that trend line. And the second entry did occur above that bar. So if you wanted to take that, I wouldn't have a problem with it. It kind of gaps over. You had to be quick probably to get in it. But you could get in that trade, and if you took it, I wouldn't have a problem with it. I did mark it green because it's not a perfect setup, but if you understand what's going on here, you can see you could also argue that there's a triple test across there. So I think this trade was okay if you entered above this bar. Normally I'd say don't enter on it on an inside bar, but because of that strong trend line, the fact that it's still holding and it is a second entry when it breaks above it, I think you could take that trade. It's a shame you didn't really get a higher low there to take advantage of, but it just takes off and there's no other entry there. Comes back first entry, second entry, but you get your break of this down channel and a new low. And you also have a little congestion here. I didn't draw it, but there is congestion right there. And so you also get a little failed break lower. But notice the break of the khaki channel and new low. I like that as a failed breakout and a break of the channel and a new low. I like going long there. It's right at the midline, right at the EMA, and it does take off. There's a higher low here. If you want to be safe, wait on the higher low. I like it, but I think this is good enough. You could take this as blue, but definitely this higher low. Because you're expecting a retest of this high at a minimum, and the two-tiered blue channel is still in place, so we could be going all the way to this upper trend channel line. So I like that trade. And then this looks like two legs back. But the signal bar is no good anyway, so it really looks like a failed break out of congestion more than anything. But you could, it has the look of two legs, but your signal bar is no good, so it doesn't matter anyway. But it's a shame we didn't get a set up there to catch that move. But notice now you have your break of this. You got two legs up to a new high, and then you get a lower high here and a second entry short, still a ways from the EMA. I like taking that when you don't know that it's going to take off to the downside. You're just trying to play the move back to the EMA on a second entry short when you're expecting a possible reversal. And if you did draw the trend line on this retest, you get a break of it and a new high as well. So I like that one. Just looking for a scalp there is all you're really looking for. If you get lucky, maybe you get more. That's just a first entry, and then finally you get a first entry, second entry. So when it breaks below that bar right there, that's a second entry short. So I like that one just to ride it back. Hopefully it's probably headed back to the lower trend line, and because we came up short, you may get a break here. And you get a break of the khaki and a turn down, and there's a second entry short there, but signal bar is not good enough. And then it bounces, but I don't see any setup there I'd want to take yet. You still don't have a retest of this low, but you may not get one if the trend line holds, but suddenly it turns lower and the bottom just falls out of it. And you clearly get two legs to a new low. So maybe you go long on that second entry right there. If not, wait for a higher low. And you might say that was a higher low, but that's just an inside bar. It didn't make it makes an equal low right there. So I wouldn't use that for a higher low. I would have wanted this bar to be the setup, and it doesn't. You don't get a signal bar there. You do get a reversal here. This one sets up properly. You could go long on a break above that bar. Again, it's a failure reversal, and those are very complicated, very advanced. Most of you should just leave it alone. You've heard me say this many times if you've been following me. If you're not consistently profitable and been that way for a long time, ignore these trades. There's a reason I don't teach them in the manual, and that's because they just confuse new traders and they cause you a lot of losses. You really need to be super understanding of price action and price movements, and you need a couple of years, several years of chart experience being profitable before you really want to start to trade these. But once you understand them, they can be it'll be a great asset, and it'll make you a lot of money. But you'll want to trade them early. And you heard me tell you right here, don't do it, because I guarantee you'll be sending me an email, won't know why this one failed or why that one failed, and it's just simply because you don't quite understand what you're doing yet. But anyway, we move on up just to first entry, and then we get sideways here, and we get a break of the green channel on the retest. I would draw that on this one because we were so far down here. You can't enter on this. But finally, you get at least a triple, if not a quadruple test here. You can see we've tested it 1, 2, probably you can count those, but at least 3, 4, and you got a good signal bar. I like going long on that one. You got the breakout that kind of cleared everything out, so this one should take on off, and sure enough, it does. Boom, turns out to be a nice move. You can get a runner on that. And then you get a second entry short after the break and two legs to a new high. We weren't quite back to the midline, much less the upper trend channel line. So it's a little, we did make a new high though, but you could push a little higher still yet. So it's a little risky going short there, but I like that one. That far away from the EMA on a second entry after just making a new high. And you can see, let me show you, I'll put the line across here, and you can see there's a high, and you can see we pushed up from 60, 94.50 to 60.96. So we did get that new high, and then it reverses. It still finds some support here, and it's very tempting to want to go long there. I'd wait on the higher low, which comes here. And by that time, you can see we're kind of working sideways. If you took this I think it still works, but I just don't think it's worth it. It's just too risky. You could see that. Um, Actually, it would have failed on you, and that's a good reason to. I don't even think I drew that from the right point. Yeah, I did. I drew it from there. So it would have been a failure on you. It would have been a one tick failure on you. So actually, did I draw it from the right place that time? I'm sorry. I'm going to go back here one more time and look at that. Yeah, it's a 5 tick, so it would have been a one tick failure unless you had no slippage and got out on 4 ticks. But yeah, it just looks too congested by that point. You can see the dojis in there and the stems on both sides. Just sit tight because you do have a break of this in a new low. So you're thinking it might go. And the other thing is this is an engulfing bar. So that's all the more reason to leave it alone. Just sit tight and wait and see what happens. And this thing just keeps working sideways. And there's nothing else there as it takes you into 230. So, but you can see that channel continues to hold until almost till around 3 o'clock, and then you get a break, and then we started in the new day, and it's really had a big sell-off here again, but we've recovered some of it. So who knows? It's probably going to continue to chop sideways, but there it is. Once again, it's one of those days where you get most of the movement in the overnight when the volume's low, and then they really struggle to push it higher later on, and it just kind of works sideways. I mean, there's some sideways action to this here. So you can see that. And we're just working up and down in that sideways stuff from that point on. But there it is. That's how I saw it. And like I said, not a lot of trades today. It looks like the volatility is a little, I don't know what it's been like the previous days. I really haven't even had a chance to look at the chart. Just a lot of choppiness is what it looks like to me. Now there's a nice rally day there. Not a bad day there. It got a little choppy again and later in the day. You had your early rally. But today, some of the volatility, was compared to what we were seeing before I left. We were getting some really volatile days there. But this is pretty well structured here until late in the afternoon. It gets a little sideways. But this was well structured, and it all played out. If you look at all these, the only one that didn't really play out was this one coming down, and it may be because I don't have it drawn exactly right. Maybe it was right here, and you did get your break and moves to a new low and then reversal. So maybe I just didn't have that drawn right. If you look at that, it's still holding there, so it looks like we could have had a break there. All the rest of them played out to the upside, to the downside, to the upside, to the downside. They all played out perfectly. This one played out. That was the only one, and it may have just been because I didn't have it drawn correctly. I may have been off a little bit there. So there was no news today, so nothing to really jitter the market. I think there's something tomorrow at 9 a.m. if I remember right. So we may get a little jolt of news tomorrow, but we'll see. But again, bear with me. I'm glad to be back. I'm looking forward to kind of getting back to my regular routine here, but man, it's tough catching up. And this kind of, with what I do, there's really nobody that can do it while I'm gone. Yeah, people can help me with a form. People can do this and that, but you really, it's impossible to get somebody that can really fill my shoes 100% while I'm gone. So most of this stuff just piles up, and then, it's more work for me. I got to do the work that I didn't do while I was gone, plus all the work that I got to do going forward while I'm back. So it's like a double whammy on me when I come back, especially being gone that long. I don't like being gone that long, and I was ready to come home probably a couple of days, but it's a long trip. I do have some video that I've put together. I've got hours worth of video that are just spectacular. So I look forward to when I get a break. When I get caught up here, I'll put that video together and I'll upload it. Anybody that wants to view some of the scenery or some of the things that I saw, it'll be there available for you. So I think if you ever get a chance to go, I think like I said, if you like the outdoors and you don't mind the cold. I mean, it's summertime there, And once we got to Antarctica, um, pretty close actually, about as you go across the Drake Pass, you have to cross the Drake Passage, and about 2/3, it's maybe about half, a little more than halfway to 2/3 of the way across, you hit that colder water and you feel it instantly, and just from the temperature goes from maybe 50s to 60s to 30s to 40s, and it averaged about 30 degrees constantly, even at night and in the daytime. It was just kind of a constant temperature the whole time we were there. And we had a couple of snowstorms that were just incredible. I've never seen it snow that hard. Um, you could you couldn't see maybe 20 feet away on those days, and when it was snowing like that, you couldn't see anything. So um, it was interesting. Again, it was a very interesting, very rewarding trip, and I encourage anybody that likes the outdoors, that likes especially snow and ice and all that. I mean, most people don't like that, but there's a lot of outdoor enthusiasts that like to snow ski and uh, snowboard and the other things, ride their snowmobiles and things like that. And that would be a great place for it. The problem is it's mostly just glaciers. And I didn't realize it, but I think it's most of the continents, I learned this while I was there, is covered in about 3.5 miles of ice. So there's not much there other than research people, some whaling stations, and things like that. And we did get to view a few of those. We didn't stop and get off there, but we did get to view them from the 20 feet from the shore, from those type places, and saw a lot of penguins, a lot of whales, um, a lot of seals and sea lions, and the only thing we didn't see that we were expecting to see were the orcas, the killer whales. They said they're usually really abundant, but something was different about this year. They haven't migrated in there, and we didn't see a single one. And they said that was very unusual for this time of year down there. So I was a little disappointed that didn't get to see an orca, but we saw pretty much everything else, and lots of penguins. So I got lots of videos of penguins. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. I'll be back again to do it tomorrow. Sorry this is so late, but it's just been a crazy day. First day back at work, you can imagine. And I'll slowly get caught up. I didn't get to read hardly any emails, so it's going to take me longer to catch up on emails than I first thought, because I didn't read but maybe a handful today because I just didn't have time. I had too many more important things that were ahead of those emails. So I'll continue to work on those emails and get them caught up. And if you don't get an answer, don't think I won't answer you. I'll get to it, and when I do, you'll get an answer from me. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Appreciate you watching. I'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.